So in my work, I usually come from a context of contemporary culture, personal experience, and the everyday with a sense of humor. I always like to have a bit of sense of humor to my work. The project that I was thinking about kind of to ground myself in this residency is on the wall here. So it started out as a footage from Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters in 1986, and using Slimer as my subject. So I'm taking my flipbook animations and picking out certain stills and then translating it to painting. And then from the painting, I then weave the painting. So there is two different tempos in my work and process. I have kind of this kind of quick gestural painting, and then a slow textile kind of digesting the painting through textile. Green screen is part of my process. It is important part of my process. It is both a tool that I use that really allowed me to explore video 15 years ago. The only reason why I did video was because of green screen. Now I use it also as just a signifier. It's a sign for something that can be replaced, something that is a void, and it can go on and on. You're kind of seeing my process in here because, so here you have the painting, the warp isn't on there yet. Here I started just weaving the frame. And usually that's the most annoying part to weave, and it's funny enough that I'm doing that. but I'm loving the way it looks. I love that just also I'm paying attention to a value change. Now I've started to like find moments in the painting that I will leave alone and let come through. Like I'm kind of loving this area here. I might just let that stay open and then have this maybe carry on with the textile. The series kind of was kind of parallel to the ectoplasm of Slimer in that respect, and that thinking about how we leave stains behind, how we also how the figure, how we as artists represent the figure after death, and that kind of ghosting, what is that? Having lost someone really close to me, I was thinking about how when they're gone, like hearing creaks in the house where they were and wondering if they were still here, and then kind of thinking about how we interpret the kind of the souls that are left behind. So there's a serious and sadness to it, but also that the comedy of it. The abstract expressionists are huge in my work. I grew up in New York City, and so they were just, those paintings were always there. Abstraction is part of my process, but it's also a questioning. I'm constantly questioning abstraction and like how we see it now and the relevance, and so that's something that I'm always questioning and experimenting with, and that's a great segue to Black Mountain. These are stills of our performance with, we built a grid, and I was thinking about the warp and the weft with toilet paper. And so we started by like pretending to weave the toilet paper. Well, you know, Merce Cunningham has that wonderful, like, where he's being chased by a dog for one of his performances. Yeah. So there was always a sense of humor to this, I feel like, the work, or, you know, I mean, the nice balance. And so I felt free to have that humor as well. I think Ghostbusters and Slimer does help. And ectoplasm, I mean, come on, like, amazing.
Quiet house. It's very historically significant and spiritual kind of place that I got to spend a weekend. I really loved it, and it's just so peaceful up here, and just so much history and amazing people and creativity and happened here. So I was so happy to be here. A lot of my work, I think, is about like finding ground, ground to kind of be stable on and build on and be creative on. So I did work a lot on the ground outside, and it was just, yeah, it was kind of exciting to get to work on like the earth, on like the place where so many people walk. I thought, well, let me just make up my own way to make spray paint. So I got like a bottle filled with water and ink and like paint, and just shook it up and just squeezed it through like a nozzle and created this like new technique for me of just sort of splatter painting. And that was kind of what I wanted to do here, was just try things and be in like an inventive kind of mood. Yeah. Yes, this piece here is kind of a beginning of a new like series of what I kind of think of as like world building and kind of inventing or imagining a parallel world or a future world. It's kind of like a speculative imagining of what could be. This kind of work is all it's jacquard woven, which is a jacquard machine that weaves images, like digital images or photographs, and then I then hand embroidered it, and each one probably took like over 100 hours or more. And I think I just didn't want to do that here. I wanted to like work really fast and really like make some like gestures and not just sit and like hour after hour after hour, even though I love that. But these like gestural works I think they kind of belong in that world. A lot of times, like some of these pieces even could become soft sculptures, because when I first started working with jacquard, it was like a way of getting a photograph onto fabric. And then I just was like, well, what could I do with the fabric? And I thought, well, I could cut it up, I could sew it, but I could also like stuff it. So I started like making like pillows out of my images. So I sort of consider it like photo sculpture. This is kind of an experiment of like just kind of playful, but these this right here, it's made out of has like aluminum wire on the inside, so you can shape it however you want. Kind of did this one outside, and this is like a shape that kind of reminds me of my sculptures. But then I took the color and I wanted to make something more like dense and kind of like an alien language combined with like a landscape. It doesn't really have a particular meaning, but I kind of think of it as like people saying like, we're here, we're here, like we're not giving in, we're not leaving. I think all my pieces are portals. Looking at the old pictures of the quiet house and seeing the earth in front of the house kind of sloping down to the right, and then just standing and seeing the same dirt just sloping down. And even though the house has changed, it's like the same spirit, I feel.
Welcome to the studio space. So what I've worked on while I'm here extends my existing practice that's across language and poetry. So of course I'm really excited that figures like Charles Olson and Robert Creeley were here. I actually get a lot of poetic inspiration from Cage. So I'll just show first some of these experiments. A lot of my work topically is about ecology and technology and how this relates to each other. So this is a book that, one of the first things that I made, and I plotted this on a machine back home. It's on polyester organza. And so this, for instance, is based on a research project that I did on copper and its role in technology. I'm really interested in transparency and layering. I should say also that I have a background in graphic design and I teach in graphic design now. So I am often working in these media formats of books, thinking about like signs and signifiers. I feel like part of the thing that this time has afforded me to do is to be a little bit less of a perfectionist. Because I started making this and I was like, well, I didn't bring my like digital embroidery machine. I didn't bring this. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play with form. I mean, I love Anni Albers' work so much, and I love especially the way that she plays with typography in some of her works on paper, but obviously she's such like a fiber genius as well. And so I was like, what if I just like literally roam the grounds and take parts of the landscape? So this is just a little sketch that I did, taking found sticks from the campus. I made this drawing of a worksheet of learning Chinese characters that I did when I was very young, and I have a video that goes with this. This is just graphite on muslin. I wanted to play with working really big. I'm very big on research and concepts, and sometimes I can get a little in my head analyzing or like thinking about like the logic of a project. So it's been really nice to just play with form. And here are some tests on like transfer vellum, where I've just been like making these kind of concrete poems in like 2 languages. This is a piece on the floor that is using the same grid there. There's a few different grids that are used for writing. This is called like the rice grid. So it looks like a character for rice. And I haven't developed this out yet, but I was really inspired by being in the dining hall here and knowing about like the rehappenings and just the kind of like events, and I'm knowing that Merce Cunningham did some of his works or staged some of his early works there. And so I was like excited about the idea of thinking what else writing could be, and could writing be drawing, could writing be movement? And so I was thinking about doing some kind of dance. I'm not a dancer, but I was like, why not try something new that I'm here? But there's a very specific like choreography of writing a particular stroke where you always have to start from like the top left and then move down. And then there's other certain rules, like you can't create a box shape and then close it without putting the markings inside. That's supposed to go inside. So I was thinking maybe I could make this sort of dance that is just made out of some of the words that are mentioned in the video. And another detail is because I'm not actually very literate in those characters, some of them that I forget, I might like improvise them because I actually don't know how to write them. So as you notice in the video, some of the characters stop appearing, and it's because I don't know how to write them from memory. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just like make it up as I go along, and then we can decide what happens next. And then yesterday we went to the museum, which was amazing, the Black Mountain College Museum. I mean, we were in town most of the day, so I didn't have a ton of time to make new things, but I was just like, oh my God, I love that John Cage is into these rocks. Like that made a really big impression on me because I think about rocks and land a lot. So I just spent some time with this stone and tracing it, and I want to do more of these. So I'm really excited by the potential of that and like the sort of incompleteness of it. And also the way that he thinks about chance operations. I started these paintings that I just want to like finish. They're just like of the photographs in the hall because again, just like being in a place that's so specific. I just took these images and I don't know, there's like subtle things like the wood grain from the table outside ended up in some of these images. I feel like I had to like literally press my hand on these. I love this image of this young woman looking out the window, and I think one of the other artists has the same one. And you can't see this in this work, but most of these are like me taking a picture of the picture, so there's a little bit of like a ghost of my figure. So it's very exciting. I was like, oh my God, there's certain like resonances that feel really powerful and that I just want to keep pulling into my work, and I feel like it's really become a kind of conversation from what I know of this place, just coming in here, what I've created being situated in the place where you can like breathe the same air as some of these folks whose work I followed for such a long time. And then also just like encountering the archival material. It's all kind of become this beautiful feedback loop. It's funny, I feel like I saw the arc of myself coming here and being like, okay, I have to produce something that like looks good. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm messing around. I don't know what's happening. And that's been a really nice development. Ceding some of your agency to another person, to nature, to chance has been really exciting.
In the space provided, practice writing the word green. I'm learning colors with you, the color green. I could never memorize it if I tried. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Could never quite hold it in the mouth. In the character, there's a road, there's snow. When winter is over, everything turns green.